Shalom, and welcome to On the House, the podcast where you'll find everything you need to know about purchasing real estate in Israel. Hosted by Debbie Goldfisher, real estate consultant and founder and CEO of BuyItInIsrael.com. In each episode, Debbie sits down with leading industry experts to explore market trends, legal and tax issues, smart buying strategies, neighborhoods across Israel, and more. All this is On the House, helping you make the right move.
Welcome back to On the House, the Israel Real Estate Podcast. I'm so excited to kick off our 7th season. It's been a while. I've missed being here. So many of you have reached out asking, where are you? When's the next episode? So thank you for your patience and support. This season, we're changing things up. In the past, we focused on how to buy a home in Israel, the process, the taxes, the legalities, the players, and the risks. But now we want to go deeper. Because it's not just about buying a home in Israel, it's about making Israel your home. And for those of you that have listened to previous episodes, know well how passionate I am about this. I've seen it again and again. Someone buys a place for the Chagim, for vacation or for investment, and over time, they or their children end up living here. Sometimes they don't even realize when they're buying that this is their trajectory. But it is. A home in Israel becomes an anchor. It draws you in. It brings you home. So this season is about that journey, the emotional, spiritual, and practical elements of building a life in our homeland. And I couldn't be more honored to launch this season with a true visionary and leader, someone who is literally synonymous with Aliyah, Rabbi Yehoshua Fass, co-founder and executive director of Nefesh B'Nefesh. For me, this is also personal. I remember clearly, just a couple of months after Barry and I made Aliyah, Rabbi Fass, you and Batsheva came over on a Motzei Shabbos, sat in our apartment in Yerushalayim, and shared your vision. You were about to leave a prestigious pulpit in Florida to build a movement to bring Jews home. We were in awe of your courage and clarity. And after hearing your plan, I said, Josh, it's a good thing your parents called you Yehoshua and not Moshe. They gave you the perfect name for someone destined to help lead the Jewish people into the land of Israel. Rabbi Fass, you've made Aliyah exciting. You've made it possible. And in the years since, Nefesh B'Nefesh hasn't just helped almost 100,000 people move to Israel. You've helped them stay, grow, and thrive. These Olim have gone on to contribute in every corner of Israeli society, from serving in the military to leading in high-tech, medicine, education, the arts, and more. And they're not just living here, they're shaping the future of this country. It's mind-blowing when you think about it, how one vision, one bold decision has impacted not only individual lives, but families, communities, and the entire fabric of Israeli society. Rabbi Fass, welcome and thank you so much for joining us. It's truly an honor and a privilege to have this discussion with you, and I so appreciate the time and attention that you're giving us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So let's get started. You were a beloved pulpit rabbi in Boca Raton, one of the most rapidly growing Orthodox communities in North America, and you walked away from that to start Nefesh B'Nefesh. Where did that vision come from? What inspired you?
So when my wife Batsheva and I were dating, one of our goals in life, or one of our shared passion, was to move to Israel and to raise our family in Israel. And as we got sidetracked and started to build a rabbinic career in Florida, in Boca Raton, Florida, ironically, the more entrenched we became into community, the further that dream was coming to fruition. In 2001, in the beginning of the Second Intifada, just at that time, I was entertaining to sign a long-term contract with a shul at that time. My cousin was standing at a bus stop outside of Petach Tikva a couple of days before Pesach. Hamas suicide bomber blew up that bus station, killed my cousin who just celebrated his bar mitzvah and his friend, his dear friend, and maimed a bunch of other children who were waiting for the school bus. And that was a wake-up call. And when the intensity of emotions and rage subsided, I needed to recalibrate my compass and reorient ourselves back to our initial dream. And Batsheva and I looked at each other like, we have to get back to our initial plans of moving to Israel. And as I was sharing with other people, friends, family, associates, colleagues, that we wanted to move to Israel, I expected people to say, you're crazy, you're nuts, no one does it, or look at the pulpit that you have and look at the house you have, how can you leave? But we didn't hear that. We heard from many, many individuals across the spectrum of ages, of denominational backgrounds. We also want to, but. We also want to, but we don't know anyone there. We also want to, but we don't know how to find work. We also want to, but we have student loans. All these obstacles that no one was addressing. And it was a shame because you had hundreds or thousands of individuals who had this Zionist passion to move and to contribute to the state of Israel, but no one was addressing obstacles that were preventing them from doing so. After doing a lot of research, even leaving the shul for a couple of months of sabbatical, of signing an NDA with a Jewish agency in New York and asking for them to give me all of their dormant applications of people who started the Aliyah process and just stopped midway, and getting a company to do pro bono work and to do really a full, deep analysis of why people were not actualizing that dream, we realized that Israel's entire Aliyah infrastructure was minded or focused on Aliyah of rescue. If you're running away from something, persecution, financial distress, anti-Semitism, Israel's good at collecting the Jewish people who need to escape as their Jewish homeland, but never really addressed this concept of Aliyah of choice, of Aliyah mibchira, individuals who want to come and to contribute immediately upon landing, who are coming, not running away from something, but running towards something. And the fears, wants, concerns, dreams of those individuals are very different from a person who's running away from something. You're running away from something, then the bar is very low. You give them anything that is different from their source of pain, then they'll be happy. But a person who's coming to contribute, who wants to come out of ideological reasons or to contribute to society and to give, not take, it's a very, very different orientation. So in 2001, I shared this idea with a congregant of mine, Tony Gelbart, a dear friend who is like a brother now after 23 years of working together. And he said, before we start any idea, or before we try to even tackle this concept, let's go to Israel, and he's very well connected, and let's share this concept with past prime ministers, individuals within the political sphere, to see whether or not they would think that we're crazy of Americans thinking up an idea and addressing it, or out of chutzpah, or whether or not it would be embraced. And shockingly so, especially shockingly so that it came from governmental offices, but they were like, we welcome this.
Wow.
We don't know how to deal with this. If you can create a new model, that will be remarkable. So that was enough. And then Mr. Gelbart said to me, I'm in 200%, let's do it. And 2002, July 9th, was our first charter flight. That was a new concept as well, is how do we make it energized? How do we make Aliyah positive? Because at that point, from 1948 to 2001, there was a very bad stigma to North American Aliyah. Either individuals didn't speak about it. I remember once speaking at a federation in the first year of founding Nefesh, and I was asked not to say the words North American Aliyah in the same sentence.
Unbelievable.
They said, we do not believe in that. I was asked to leave because I insisted in saying that sentence. But look how far we've come over 23 years. But it also had a bad stigma because the percentage rate of recidivism, it was people did not stay. There was a study in 2000s that close to 55% of North Americans moved back within 3 years. Now, and you're only dealing with 1,600 people making Aliyah every year. Mm-hmm. So if you have 1,600 customers and 50% of them are going back after 3 years, close down your business.
You have no business model.
Because the business is broken, and the megaphone that's being spread about that product is horrible. And it's a shame for Eretz Yisrael to have that kind of stigma.
Absolutely.
So the charter flight was our first break into that image, of fill it with young professionals, individuals who were icons of communities, and to change the entire concept of what North American Aliyah was, and to really pull the Jewish community to have this awakening of what this modern-day miracle of the state of Israel is, and that people truly want to come and to move and to plant their lives and families here. And then the rest is history. It's been 23 years since, and the organization has evolved tremendously.
Sitting here in your office, and I feel like I'm in a high-tech firm. It's just beautiful. It's planned. It's organized. It's high-tech, and it's appealing.
I think the campus itself, where we're at, very much captures what we try to do in our whole gisha, and our whole approach to Aliyah is to do it professional, is to do it modern, to do high-tech with warmth. People are entrusting your lives, and I say this to the staff constantly. People are entrusting their lives, their future with you. You have to act uber professional. We have to be exact. We have to be perfect, or at least strive for perfection. I often use people. You're the George Washington Bridge. So if you're going to look like in shambles, and if you're going to present yourself that it's under construction, no one's going to drive across that bridge to Israel. And it oozes in the staff that we have here. It's manifested in just the materials, the programming, the professionalism, the level that we expect from the staff, and also in just the offices. The office here, we just opened a center in Tel Aviv. We took a floor in the Round Tower in Azrieli.
Really?
It rivals the beauty of this campus. It's
Beautiful.
really a stunning place. And we have around 25, 30 staff that work out of the Tel Aviv office.
For our listeners who may not be familiar with all the details, give us a broad overview. What are the core services you provide, and how do you actually help people make Aliyah, from flights to bureaucracy to community? What does the Nefesh B'Nefesh journey look like?
Okay, so Nefesh today has 4 pillars.
Sorry, why did you call it Nefesh B'Nefesh? Go back to, I am assuming, the story.
It was a story. The overwhelming feeling that I had at that time is that I needed to stand in the place of to fight pain with hope, to fight terror with optimism, and to bring a sense of light after that tragedy, that personal tragedy. It was almost nefesh b'nefesh, to carry that baton and that flag of my cousin who was killed.
Wow, that's unbelievable. I feel a shiver down my spine, but I think
when Israeli press ask me, I just say something about Nefesh Homiyah and stuff, because they can't.
They can't. But the irony is that story, that personal story, is really a national story today. And what you're doing, what you started in a relatively small way 23 years ago, today has become a national story, a huge part of the Jewish nation, and it's really unbelievable. So sorry, I interrupted you.
It's okay. So
go back to what exactly you're doing here.
Okay, I'm going to chew your ear off a bit. So we have 4 pillars. Nefesh today is very, very different from what it was in 2002, even 2010. We're at like our 3rd chapter of existence. We have 4 pillars of foci. Number 1 is Aliyah facilitation, which is our ogen, which is our anchor, our core product, and our core attention. Then there's national development, national service, and education. Each has its own staff. Some of them have its own office, its own budget, management system. And we have been expanding and ever expanding since we've created these 4 pillars or 4 foundations of what the organization stands on, and allows other institutions, partners, government agencies to offer us projects or to partner us in projects if it falls within those different pillars. So let's talk about each. First one's Aliyah facilitation. Since 2008, the Jewish agency signed a historic agreement with Nefesh B'Nefesh that we will be the front face of Aliyah, North American Aliyah.
North America, including Canada, South America?
Yes, USA and Canada. Let's keep North America. For a few years, we were in England, as you know.
I know.
But right now, we're North America due to some political
we won't go there.
pressures. We're not going to get there. But now we're all over the world, so we'll get to that in a bit.
Great.
So, and basically, anyone who's interested in making Aliyah has to come through Nefesh. We collect all the documentation. We get it all prepped. And we guide and we escort and we do livui. When the information comes into our system, there are a bunch of different government institutions that grab that information from us, from our systems. We share systems and infrastructures with the Jewish Agency, with Ministry of Immigration Absorption, with Ministry of Interior, with the IDF. So once all the documentation is prepped, that is taken care of by the Zakaut, by the eligibility offices. We do programming, we do marketing, we do one-on-ones in America. We spend a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of efforts in programming and personal contact in North America. Our staff is constantly on the planes, flying back and forth. And so that's the marketing, the programming, the guidance, the paperwork, the flights, and then post integration, a hotline that we have, a bureaucratic hotline, programming specific for different populations, job board, employment. We have an upgrade service, which has been unbelievable. We're retraining, upgrading individuals for professions that are not easily transferable here to Israel.
For example?
Anything with high tech, with Salesforce, with fundraising. It's been unbelievable.
And you train them here in the building?
No, we have companies that we partner with them and train. This is like our 15th cohort. We've trained hundreds of Olim, and it's gotten such an incredible name that we are partnering with major industries here in Israel and giving them access to, even before the students graduate, so they can already earmark which students they want to pick.
It's so interesting because so many people that make Aliyah, they reinvent themselves.
That's 100%, and it's a fascinating, not just an anecdote, but we see it. People look at this as a fulfillment, and now it's a new chapter, especially with some and an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to tap into different skill sets that they have. And an opportunity to also to provide for their families.
Beautiful.
The incredible thing is that the success rate of just this upgrade course work that we run, most of it's in Tel Aviv, 80% of them are employed within 2 months. It is just a fast track, and the government sees this, and they're looking to expand this for other industries and other countries because this is like a model. So that is the Aliyah.
Unbelievable.
And there are a lot of staff. It's a huge budget, and within that comes with financial assistance and grants, and now we just created therapeutic services for those who have been affected by the war. So that's the first column. Next is national service, and that is for those who are lone soldiers from around the world. 11 years ago, we signed a contract with the IDF. There are dozens and dozens of incredible nonprofits that deal with Chayalim Bodedim. But in 2012, we signed a contract as being the exclusive Amuta, us and the FIDF, of dealing with all lone soldiers around the world. It's 3,200 lone soldiers from 70 countries.
Wow. That
are serving today. There's a good and bad of being the bad, or the negative is that the microservice is not there. Mm-hmm. I'm not the pizza Thursday night. I'm not the laundry. I don't have that kesher, but the army needs that ma'atefet or expects a certain ma'atefet to be given, and we provide it for 3,200 soldiers. That's guidance before. It's guidance, it's preparation, it's financial assistance. Just the financial assistance to the Chayalim themselves is a few million shekel.
Wow.
Being there for Tkasim, being Melaveh Otam, any bureaucratic issue.
So when you say you're the exclusive agency, you mean the IDF don't talk to the other Amutot?
They do on a certain way, but the package that they expect is through us.
I see.
Or even to a point that there was talk of having us being almost like an umbrella organization for other agencies. Mm-hmm. But we work hand in hand with so many remarkable foundations, projects, programs. There are dozens of them. Beautiful. They're incredible.
And what if there are Chayalim Bodedim lone soldiers from other countries outside of North America? You deal with them too?
Yeah, that was our first foray into the international arena. So we have.
Tell us a bit about your presence.
So we have a multilingual staff. We have 20-something staff in Tel Aviv, Russian, Ukrainian, Spanish, French, English, and we've expanded, and it continues to expand. I'll give you a few things. We have a team that's just dedicated for parents of Chayalim Bodedim, because parents feel very disconnected. They don't understand. They're very stressed, especially during the war.
Well, I have to say, I mean, I have sons in the army, and it's hard enough living in a community with everyone in the same position.
Imagine how it's magnified when you're 6,000 miles away.
I cannot imagine.
So during the war, we did this beautiful, probably one of the most emotional programs that I was involved in, and that was Mivtzat Chibuk, Operation Hug. Parents and the Chaylim Bodedim were telling us from all countries that they missed their parents, that they never expected to be in war. They thought they were making Aliyah and doing Shmirah in some kind of kibbutz. And the parents were all freaking out in every different culture, every different language.
Of course.
So we raised money very, very quickly, and we flew in any parent who wanted to come and to give a hug to their kid.
Wow.
Now imagine the logistics. We flew in 1,300 parents. We dealt with the Army, and the Army was able to coordinate 1,298 of them to come out of Gaza to give a hug to their parent when they were here.
I don't believe it. Wow.
Only 2 parents. And every Wednesday, we had a breakfast here for the parents. We brought IDF here. We brought a therapist here. We did group therapy here. It was incredible. Well, I cried every week. Every Wednesday, I cried.
You're a crier. I know that.
I'm a crier. We had 32 countries. We had flights from 32 different countries. And just the logistics
32
of it.
live.
30, yeah.
At the whole heart.
It was incredible.
I can't imagine. Wow.
And the 2 moms who flew here who couldn't see their kids at the end of the week, and we tried every single day, but they were in special units and they couldn't get out of the Army. And I said, I feel horrible. You flew here, and you couldn't get to see your son.
That's so sad.
They're like, we are so happy. I said, just to be on the same time zone as our kid, that's Zeo. You gave us that.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Also extremely emotional moment. Ilan Cohen, Shayim Kum Tamam, he was killed he was from Buenos Aires, a Chayal Boded. And his mother came on Operation Hug. And we have a film of her hugging Ilan, and that was the last time they saw each other before he was killed. So when I was in Argentina, which we'll get to our next column in a bit, I went to the mom's house and I showed her the video of her hugging Ilan.
It was meragesh.
It was very meragesh.
Emotional. I can't imagine.
So another thing that we're doing on also meragesh right now is that we partner with Sheba Hospital, and Sheba created a PTSD, mental health therapeutic branch within Nefesh's office in Tel Aviv. So we just opened this up 2 weeks ago.
This is endless.
Yeah, it's endless. In the last 2 weeks, we're already up to 17 chaylim who are receiving PTSD therapy.
Oh my goodness!
So it's just, and it's all countries, it's all nationalities. This is the matefet that the Army expects for us to give. So
matefet is like the envelope,
the package services on a macro level that we're giving. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it pains the staff. They're like, but we don't know this person's name, and we're jealous of this foundation that knows this person that's been there. I was like, it's different. You can be an incredible, you can be a nurse in a public school and know every single kid's name, and you can give a kiss on the Band-Aid when you put it on the cut, or you can run a hospital. And it's a
you have the macro and the micro.
Exactly, and you need both. You need both, and that's why we work with the micro organizations. But on a macro level, we're able to fly 1,300 parents in that we wouldn't be able to do if you were doing the micro service.
And as you said, things have changed so drastically since when you started. You would never have dreamed that you were doing this, providing these sorts of services. Okay.
And it's also a shift for me. Very micro focused and very personal focused to shift in something more of a macro influence or macro institution. Sure. The third, just to give you a reason why I'm doing quickly because I have to do third and fourth because you have all your questions.
I know.
The third is we do we're focused on national infrastructure. And that's really solution peddling for the government. The government comes to us or institutions come to us and ask us to almost leverage the human capital or expertise.
Give us an example.
So an example. So 9 years ago, we created this concept called MEDEX. MEDEX was that we were so frustrated seeing that doctors who were making Aliyah from America waited a year to get their license, to get their jobs, and they're just twiddling their thumbs for a year.
And they're experienced, professional.
So frustrating.
Advanced.
It was horrible. Sure. Horrible. So we asked the Ministry of Health to think out of the box with us to a point that 8 years ago, they were sending over their deputies to New Jersey, New York with us, licensing individuals temporarily. I mean, contingent that they would make Aliyah. You would make Aliyah when you got your Tudat Zehut, within 4 days you would get your license to work.
Wow.
Hospitals started to hear about this, and hospitals started to fly back, and we created this medics concept that it was like a one-stop shop. The Jewish Agency was there, all the Ministry of Health officials, the licensing board, the IMA, Israel's Medical Association was there, specialists were there.
So you're breaking down the bureaucracy.
And
Israel
we had
is known for all this paperwork.
19 hospitals, every medical clinic. I'll show you a video that will blow you away from just 2 weeks ago.
Incredible.
And the government said, listen, you're bringing 100 physicians from America every single year. We have a major shortage that we're expecting over the next few years. We need 2,000 physicians as a Band-Aid. Could you take this internationally, globally? So it was an amazing challenge. How do you take something that's very American-focused or an organization that's only American-focused? I mean, besides the Chaylim Bodedim, but that's very specific population. But how do we take that entire concept, the before, the during, after, with the hospitals, with the clinics, translate everything, onboard an international team, get the Ministry of Health to have a new staff that will license individuals in tandem with you? I can spend 5 hours just talking about this, but we launched it. The last few months, we were in France, Buenos Aires, London.
How many doctors have you recruited?
Our target was in 2024. The first year was a very bold target. Our target was 300 physicians from around the world.
Okay.
That would come and be licensed and start working. We hit 519. So we were blown away. Incredible. 519 physicians made Aliyah in 2024.
All over the world.
From around the world.
Wow.
We even had staff. Our staff, I mean, we have another office next door that has 20-something staff that work on this project. We had staff that went to Kiev that they took pictures. They were 3 floors down in an underground parking lot to do the seminar along with the Jewish Agency because it just needed to be bomb-proof. It took them like 2 days just to even travel to the program. But we've been everywhere. We're going to be in France again. We're going to be in Canada. We're going to Australia in July. It's awesome. So that's the third.
Okay.
And the fourth is education, Zionist education. We decided when we moved into this campus 2.5 years ago that we need to start planting seeds for the next generation, especially with what's happening on campus. And it was driving me crazy having all these Shana Aleph kids at my Shabbos table who never even spoke about Tzionut for their entire year of gap year. It was driving me nuts.
A friend of mine in Modi'in had some girls over for Shabbos recently, and they asked if people live here all year round.
Yeah. It's shocking. So we brought in a team. We started this Zionist education initiative that doesn't even say the word Aliyah.
Okay.
It's just to teach Tzionut, history, a visceral connection to the land.
Love it.
And then it became amazing. Missions started to come, shul started to come, congressmen even started to come. We had 10,000 students here in 2020.
Once again, this is education here in Israel?
Yeah, it's in Israel.
People from
we've had from Young Judea to
TJJ
to Gateshead here. We have to modify the language, and this 90% of it is in Israel. Some of it's a Zoom, some of it's off campus, but most of it's happening here.
Beautiful.
And we hit 10,000. That was our goal.
Wow.
That was our dream. Could we hit 10,000 students in the ZI, Zionist Education Initiative? And then it started to evolve. Schools in America heard about it, and they said, could you create a curriculum for us for our high school? Mm-hmm. So we beta tested in one of the high schools a curriculum, an 8-session curriculum on Zionist education, which was really successful, rolling it out to 15. Then YU heard that we were doing this, and YU said, could you help us create a course in Azrieli for a master's in education on how to teach Zionist curriculum? So that whole fourth column, which was just basically between you and me, a hobby, has become like an incredible pillar for the organization. Wow. And then I'm stopping to talk.
And it's endless. So once again, where does the support, the employment, the housing, the medical, all the issues that you support Olim with, where does that come into it? That's in the first pillar is Aliyah facilitation. I see. That is our core. That's our live. From application all the way through to 100%. And there's a lot of crossover. Obviously, sure. Everything is a student that comes here who's turned on by Zionist education will shift into the Aliyah column. A doctor who comes to a medics in France and needs facilitation or a job, everything somehow melds, even though they're 4 distinct independent columns. There's a lot of flow between
between the four of them.
Interesting. Okay. So going back to where you operate, tell us about, I mean, you've said you work in America. It's a North American jury.
The Aliyah facilitation is in U.S. and Canada. Our Zionist Education Initiative is here in Israel and in U.S. and Canada. Our Lone Soldiers is around the world. Mm-hmm. And our medical program, our International Medical Aliyah program, is around the world as well.
Okay.
So we have staff that's constantly flying either to North America or to, like, every 2 weeks, another team is flying out to a different country.
Amazing. We have listeners from the UK, Australia, South Africa, Europe, South America, even the Far East. Is there a plan for Nefesh B'Nefesh to operate in more regions in the future?
I think the model that we are creating now, this niche model for certain populations, working hand in hand with other government agencies, is filling our plate right now. Mm-hmm. And I think it will evolve to that. It was interesting because I have to tell you, I kept on saying to the staff, we're going to these countries. They never heard of us. We're going to go to Argentina. And the first thing that we need to do is just market what Nefesh is, and then market what the Medical Aliyah program is. And and we went there, and everyone knew what what Nefesh was. And we spent Shabbat there. It was one of the most incredibly special Shabbatot of my life. And the entire Shabbat, people were like, what took you so long to get here? And I was so moved by it and we went to France and we went to Kiev. Everyone, it's like anyone who's interested or semi-interested in Aliyah knows the branding of the organization, which is beautiful and very humbling, but it saved us that first step in marketing. Mm-hmm. So then we can just really jump in and delve into the specialties that we want to help people fast track or to help accelerate them to move to Israel.
Okay, so there's no question that the events of October 7th shook the entire Jewish world. What changes have you seen in Aliyah since then? Who's coming? Where are they coming from? And where are they going?
Okay. Phenomenal question. We've seen two things since October 7th within the North American population and how it translates into Aliyah connectivity or Aliyah interest. Mm-hmm. We've seen a doubling of interest. Literally, statistically, 100% increase of interest in Aliyah. We're flooded with applications. Flooded. The question is, will it translate? Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to see. Did people instinctively, knee-jerk, react out of emotional reaction or emotion, and just needed to have an outlet to express their solidarity? Or is this really an interest to shift and to make a decision? So we're seeing it. We're trying today at 9:30 when we finish is a meeting of just a data analysis meeting of seeing where is there a change or a difference between each population. Is there a makeup of someone who is doing a curiosity seeking, a solidarity expression, a real Aliyah interest, and to try to understand what the data is, because we have to prepare for that wave. If it is, we have to book flight tickets. Bless LL. We have to buy tickets just so that we can make sure that we have the seats, we have the accommodations for the Olim. So we have to understand, we have to get behind the numbers. But interest-wise, we've never seen anything. 2 weeks ago, we were in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. We had two events, a Sunday event for the medics, for the doctors, and a Monday event for the general population. The Monday event had 1,100 people register. Wow. 1,100 people. 700 people showed up. Well, that's a good rate of registration attendance. Mm-hmm. But 1,100 people filled in and out saying, I'm coming out to learn Tachlis, not Aliyah inspiration.
Okay, so what kind of people? Tell us about the demographic.
Oh, it spread. Mm-hmm. And the doctors, we had 500 medical professionals come on Sunday. It's just, the numbers are outstanding. The second lesson that we've seen is that people's emotions have been very intensified, obviously. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing people who really, it's the gray area of your relationship with Israel is no longer there. Mm. It's really machkim. It defined it and crystallized people's connection or understanding their self-understanding and their self-position with Israel and with Aliyah. A lot of people in the past would struggle and live in that gray, but this crystallization of their connection doesn't not necessarily mean that they're making Aliyah tomorrow. But I'm hearing constantly the 5-year plan, the 4-year plan. I'm sure you're hearing it as well, which was a rarity 10 years ago. People would never say concrete, I'm buying this apartment, I'm doing this because 5 years from now I'm moving. People say, they would throw out that gray, this amorphic kind of concept. Yes, I'm making Aliyah in 5 years now when the kids get out of the house. But we're seeing people making concrete steps constantly, these concrete steps to have that eventual arrival here. So that we've seen. We've seen a real shift in that.
So one of the things that I see, that I'm hearing, which is very heartwarming, is that a lot of youngsters are coming.
Tons.
It's incredible how many kids come to Israel for the year and stay.
Yeah.
They're doing Shirut Leumi, army, university, and getting married here. Personally, I think that's the way to go.
I'll tell you an incredible statistic. For the last 2-3 years, we've seen around 1,400 Olim under the age of 30, between 18 and 30, young professionals.
Right.
They're coming on their own, and the majority of them are not Orthodox.
Amazing.
Which is remarkable.
Phenomenal.
I love reading their essays. I love hearing why they're moving, and it's just incredible.
Unbelievable.
So it's not the conveyor belt, the normal conveyor belt of Orthodox Jewish expression that's
come
going
to
create.
for the year and
exactly.
Stay.
That's happening.
Right.
We've seen that with our program of Here Next Year. We see the program of gap years, students wanting to go straight to the army, Shirut Leumi, start making it. But to have individuals who've been touched either by birthright or what they've seen on campus, or that they're looking for identity, and it's just it's remarkable.
Phenomenal. The other population that I'm seeing a lot of interest in is the early nesters and coming up to retirement. Obviously, they're at a stage in life that it's easier to do so. I think the hardest, and I'm sure this is your target audience as well, is the families that are settled, that are in the middle of their careers, they've paying off their mortgages, their life is okay. Why upheave everything and make this move?
We were just talking to a family yesterday, and they were saying we were in a financial prison. We're stuck, and I didn't really have an answer for them because we have a huge mortgage on the house that we bought, which was too expensive for us to buy. Our kids, we have loans for student loans because we put our kids in the best schools, and the exorbitant prices of tuition, and with their own student loans, because even a young doctor, they're not going to get scholarships because of just their position in the community. So it's not automatic.
So how do we address this?
No, it's and they were like, our Aliyah has to be pushed off. Now, there's certain programs that will help individuals burn down some of their financial loans or some of their student loans, but it's the life. It's almost this inertia of Jewish experience in America that locks people in to certain challenges or certain, I wouldn't say lifestyles, but is locked into their community or into their standing that it's very hard to extricate themselves from. And I feel for people, and it takes a very, very bold step to break that inertia state and to make a decision for their family of quality of life versus standard of life.
Yep.
And that shift allows a person to break that mold or to get out of that financial prison. A person realizing
it's a shift in their mindset.
100%.
Yeah.
A person realizing they can do with less, but they can have much more in life.
So that raises an important point. I mean, this is a podcast about real estate, so I want to touch for a moment on housing in Israel. One of the things I hear over and over again is I can't see myself living in an apartment. I live in a large house with land, a finished basement, a walk-in pantry, 2-car garage, a home office, a playroom, a guest room. The list goes on and on. How am I supposed to move into a 3-bedroom apartment? So how do we deal with that? How do you say to people, what do you say to people who feel they're giving up space, comfort, and the lifestyle that they used to?
Very honestly, it's a choice. You can't have it all.
Right.
Any time in life. You can have your house in America, but you're not having Israel. You want to have Israel, you have a certain lifestyle, you have a certain life, you have a certain generational gift that you're giving to your children, grandchildren. Something has to give.
Absolutely.
And every single person has to put it on a piece of paper. Literally, put on a piece of paper. What are my values? What are the variables in my life? What do I need for myself just to be happy? And through that happiness or that prism of happiness, my kids will experience happiness. Is it just the quality of life that will give me that smile, that my kids will feel that life is okay? Or is it the materialism that will give me that happiness and then my kids will feel in a stable, loving household? You have to make a decision. No one's judging you. But if you make that decision, you have to find a situation or a community where that will help you live that life.
I agree.
People will say, I need to have kedusha, I need to have ruach, I need to have spirit, I need to have the best school for my kid. I want this experience for my kid. So you'll be living in a 3-bedroom apartment. And you'll change. You'll change your life. Or if a person says, I don't care. Israel's my destination. It's a huge country. I can go to the Kotel once every 6 weeks and it'll be fine for me and my family. And if that's the case, let me live outside of that iconic, Israel community bastion, and I will, and I'll get
sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Right.
I'll sacrifice on certain things. Everything is sacrificed.
Absolutely.
Every single thing is sacrificed. You spend time in something, you spend money in something, it means that you're not spending time in something else, you're not spending money on something else. And it's fine. And I tell families all the time, it's okay. You can live in that moshav, you can live in Zichron, you can live up north. A staff member I was talking to yesterday, and he was very honest. I live here because I need a backyard. I need a backyard. And I tell my Olim that he's an Aliyah advisor. It's okay. No one's judging you.
Absolutely.
No one's judging you. But to have it all, they never have it all in life.
Right. And I have to say, downsizing and decluttering is not a bad thing. We live more, I wouldn't say minimalistic lives, because we don't, but sometimes it's okay to not have as much. I mean, the Amazon deliveries. I was in the States in the summer. I was staying by a friend. Non-stop deliveries, and I was like overwhelmed with this. Like, where do you put it all? I don't need all that stuff. So, and we also spend a lot more time outside, and it's a different lifestyle that one could adjust to. But if you want to, you have to have the ratzon, you have to have the desire to do so. So another question that I get asked constantly, and it's no secret, housing in Israel is incredibly expensive. The reality is that most people are not coming with enormous budgets, and the cost of housing is truly prohibitive. Are there any programs or efforts to help Olim access more affordable housing, maybe initiatives to establish communities in less expensive areas?
Absolutely. Under the radar for the last 3 years, we've been working with government agencies and major philanthropic institutions in America of creating a model, a sustainable model, to use as a beta test for the Olim population. Obviously with some Israelis, because you have to. I mean, just culturally it's smart, and legally you have to.
Sure.
But a model that might be able to be used for the country to learn. And it's a very, it's an out-of-box thinking. It requires a lot of flexibility from the government, but you can reduce the prices of houses in certain communities, and I don't want to share more, but
I understand.
Because even yesterday we had a meeting with Chashevet HaKlali, which is the regulatory body within the finance ministry, which was unbelievable, because I thought he was going to cancel because yesterday was passing of the budget.
Budget, right?
And they still came and they spent an hour and a half with us. And one of the concepts is I was presenting to them this model that we're thinking of. And he was kicking the tires. He wasn't happy with some of the things that I was throwing out, but it's fine.
That's fine.
But if you have major bodies, let's say institutions, philanthropists, that are not looking to make a profit, then you can do a lot with their money, especially if it's serious money. You can create a principle that will be, and that can build a really incredibly successful model, not just for Olim, but for young couples here in Israel.
Beautiful.
Because we're all worried about our kids not having the ability to afford homes.
Absolutely.
I don't know how they're going to do it. And but there's you can take a lot. You can learn a lot from what America did after World War II, the GI Bill, and certain things that they did with communities of rent with ability to buy and fixed prices of homes and using a construction company and your own banking system. A whole thing.
Sounds amazing.
It's a whole model.
Because I have to be honest, a lot of the people buying today are people who are in very fortunate positions. They're buying for the future,
or they're renting indefinitely.
Right, but a lot of them are buying a second home. They'll come a few times a year. Their kids will come until somebody makes Aliyah, and that's wonderful. But the majority of people don't have that money. And
I agree.
And they can't afford it. And I'm so happy to hear that you are proactively thinking and planning for these people.
It is even to a point. I'm flying. When am I flying? Motzei Shabbat. And our conversation on Sunday with our chairman is this fifth column of when are we able to launch this fifth column of Nefesh of the housing construction, affordable housing infrastructure here in Israel. We've spent years working on this.
Brilliant.
But whether or not the funding is there, you need.
I trust you. You'll get there. Get there. I believe in you. So I've seen that one of the biggest predictors of a successful Aliyah is community. Today, there are even real estate projects built around this area, bringing in a rabbi from North America to serve as the spiritual leader of a new community in Israel. A great example is our good friend, Rabbi Larry Rothwachs, who will be leading the Rothstein Heights community in Ramat Beit Shemesh. Are there organized efforts like this bringing shuls, school groups, or neighborhoods together so people don't have to do it alone? Is there anything being done to help entire communities make Aliyah as a unit?
There's a lot on this we can dissect. First of all, let's talk about whether or not it's effective or functional and realistic. Let's break it down. Mm-hmm. Realistic is very hard. Literally, there's not a week that goes by that I get a call from a person in the community or a rabbi saying, I want to pick up my whole shul and move. Come on.
Right. I would say it's hard enough to get a couple to agree on something, let alone a group or a community.
I said, even if you have a group of 20, you're not going to find 20 homes together. You're not.
Right.
Unless you build something from nothing, and that's the 10-year or 15-year concept from ground to.
And this comes back to your very first point, that you're not an organization to bring people out of distress or out of, God forbid, emergency.
So you're not putting them in caravans.
Right, and we hope never to get to that point.
100%. So I don't know how logistically feasible it is for a garin, like a group of people from one certain place to come in a short proximal amount of time. You can't. It's a long-term plan. It's community building. It's that. So that's the logistics. And sometimes they say, okay, let's find a project. Let's find a project. This is like Rabbi Rothwell. Let's find a project that's starting, attach your name, get a bunch of homes or apartments, and you can bring that group of 50 or 100. So that's a model. But a lot of times there is an unrealistic expectation of certain communal leaders are saying, okay, we're going to have my own shul, we're going to have my own school, we're going to have my own I'm like, what are you talking about?
I agree.
It does not work that way.
Right.
Halavai, you just get a lot for your shul that's associated to you that doesn't go to a tender for every other rabbi in every single community.
Also, everyone in the community has different
and there's
needs,
a different 100%. So that's
and they have children in different areas, and
exactly.
It doesn't work.
So that number one, there has to be realistic expectations of community leaders. I do believe the opposite to, and I keep on saying this to the government because they always throw out this concept it works in Europe, especially in France, that there is a model there that they take a garin of a group of people for a year. They work with them, they unify them as a unit, even though they might not be going to the same shul, and they come together as one unit. It's very nice. It's not feasible in America because we're spread out throughout the country. And Shalom Vach does incredible work on this. Rabbi Vach, he brings in groups of people, brings a unit, and puts them usually in more affordable places in Israel so that they can get affordable housing. And sometimes in Karavilot and all this.
Who is Shalom Vach?
He's from France, Rabbi Vach.
Okay.
His son Golan Vach is a very famous individual in the army. That's number one. I think the opposite, which I've shared with the government, I think the opposite, when you're talking about North America, I think a collective garin, like you have a community that has a certain hashkafa, that has the infrastructure, has the rabbi, has a minded orientation towards North Americans.
Existing in Israel.
And that's collet a variety of individuals.
But sometimes you don't have the housing. You don't have that.
No, but once you have housing, let's say you take an area that has 30, 40 homes, and and you bring people to that area, not from different areas, from different states, from different shuls. Sometimes you have more in common with that person who's coming from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and Houston, Texas, who's coming to that community than the person that you're sitting next to in shul that has no connection at all to Israel. So don't use a geographic anchor within America as being the common denominator of a garin, of a group of people. Use the location, use the hashkafa here as being the anchor that draws people there. So the number one, feasibility and the realistic expectations. Second, there are a lot of families who are not newbies, and they want an American-type rabbi. They want a person who's experienced Israel. It's not just the halachot tluyot ba'aretz. It's not just the laws that are connected to the land. It's experience. It's experience.
Children, having had sons in the army,
exactly,
gone through the education system,
it's
the challenges of raising youth.
Exactly. So it's an experiment. It's an experiment taking a rabbi from the States and spearheading a community. Mm-hmm. Rabbi Rothwax is a special, unique diamond, so it'll work
absolutely
for him. But I'm not sure others have that unique capability.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. You also mentioned, and I agree with you, that you need to integrate people with Israelis as well. It's not a healthy thing to... I mean, I have a lot of people that say, we want to come and build a new neighborhood. We want to build a new yeshuv. I mean, I tell them, first of all, slow down. Focus on your Aliyah. Focus on your family, your children, get a job, adjust to life in Israel. But more than that, you don't want to live in a bubble.
No.
You know?
I sat last year, we had a forum of principals of different schools. It was great. In Yerushalayim and Beit Shemesh, Modi'in, Rehovot area, that has a high student body of Anglo-Olim. And it was a Knesset member who wanted me to put it together. We put it together upstairs in the Ulam. And we were asking them, what do you need from the government? What do you need from Nefesh? How can we make it easier for you? Whether or not it's bureaucratic, when it's funding, certain services that will help the Olim integrate, even just giving you information months before they make Aliyah so you can prepare the amount of desks or just teacher ratio student. And it got very heated at one point, and I threw out a joke. It was not a funny joke, but I said to everyone, I really think we should start Ulpan in all your schools. And they got very upset. What are you talking about? Of course we do Ulpan. We do Ulpan for all of our Anglos. So I said, no, I'm not talking about Ulpan for the Anglos. I'm talking about Ulpan for the Israelis in your school who are now a minority who now need to learn English to accept the student body. So they were not happy with me. But again, that's what's happening with these bubbles.
Right.
Our kids, my kids themselves, I see it in the schools. The schools have become so anglicized, and your kids are coming from English-speaking homes. They're going to school. They're speaking English the whole day. They're coming back, playing with their friends in English, coming back to their home in English. The only Hebrew that they're hearing is the frontal teaching that they're getting from the teacher.
And then they end up not knowing Hebrew properly, not knowing English properly. But eventually they catch up.
100%. You catch up. It's not, you have to because it's sink or swim, so you're going to catch up.
But going back to your point about Israel education, I feel very strongly that Jewish schools around the world have to focus on Hebrew. They have to prepare children to make Aliyah. They should be focusing much more on teaching the language, because once you have the language skills, everything's easier.
Agreed.
Okay, so I mean, we can carry on talking for hours about what you're doing, and I'm literally blown away by the initiatives, the energy, and the endless amount of movement. What's your forecast for Aliyah in the coming years, and how do you see Nefesh B'Nefesh evolving over the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years?
Okay, the 5 to 10 years is, well, and then we'll talk about the first question. The 5 to 10 years falls into really trying to tackle the affordable housing concept. It is something that we've been working on for a bunch of years, speaking to very, very influential individuals, both here and in the U.S., to see if we can get this off the ground. And I think it will be a real accomplishment if we're able to do something. And that's a game changer. And that's a game changer. And that itself will bring Aliyah. And also a model for Israeli other communities to help Israeli young couples.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Halavai.
So that's that. And also continue in this very exciting stage of being solution peddlers. That's what I've called ourselves. You know, there's an idea, or there's a community, or there's a hospital, or there's a project, and people are coming to us and saying, could you partner with us? Could you make it happen? And that's very, very exciting.
And you consider everything. You don't turn anyone. I hear you don't.
We turn down a lot. But the 4 pillars has helped me
stay focused.
Been able to stay focused. If it can't fit into the 4 pillars, then we say, we're not there yet.
Love that.
And it allows us to be able. It's very, very flattering to be the one asked to the ball all the time. Mm-hmm. But you need to stay focused, and you can't have a mission creep, and you can't all of a sudden be sidetracked, and all of a sudden you're funding for something else that doesn't fall under the umbrella of your mission statement, and your regulations and your board and it keeps you focused.
That's great.
So solution peddling on a national level that allows it to fall into the 4 different branches, and to be honest with that filter. On Aliyah prognosis or projection, I do think that there's going to be an increase. I think what we're seeing in America, even though only 6% of the applications now are saying anti-Semitism is a variable. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's really, I think people don't want to admit it, because people are coming out of idealism, and that's what Nefesh is all about, optimism, idealism, Aliyah of choice. But people feel uneasy.
Sure.
People's normalcy has been shaken.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who's been sitting on the fence for all these years, with that spark still alive, that, Israel's our homeland, and it's a miracle, and this is where we belong, and this is the fate and faith of our people, and this is the destiny of the Jewish people. And again, that inertia or that comfort allows you not to think about it so often. But this jolting of societal norms and what's happening in current events is making people just jolt themselves to get back to that pull. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing it in the applications, but I think it's going to start manifesting more and more and more in numbers.
Bezrat Hashem.
Bezrat Hashem, but also still hoping to preserve this historic beauty of Aliyah of choice.
Yes.
Because if it shifts, then we're in a very different position as a Jewish people globally.
God forbid. God forbid. Okay. Over 23 years, you said?
I guess so.
You've created,
doesn't look like I look like it's 23 years.
You look exactly like you did when you came and sat with us 24 years ago. You've created something extraordinary. But is there anything you wish you had approached differently? Anything you would have done differently when you set up the organization?
So much.
Tell us.
There's a naivete that a person has when you're starting something, and you believe that if you're doing something good, that others will follow you, or others will partner with you.
Everyone will buy into it.
Yeah. So that takes time to mature. There's an naivete as well of just certain things put into place and hoping that they're successful. And you learn. We can spend a day. Mm-hmm. I'm very honest with warts, and I try to really analyze from it. And I'm the first one to admit it. My staff knows it. I usually, if something fails, I usually give it I learn from it, try to attempt it a second way. After the second way, I just shelve it. Mm-hmm. Because there's no point just to beat something that's dead. Even though on paper it's amazing, and even though it's a great conversational piece at the Shabbos table, and even though it excites me and I can't sleep,
worth the energy.
It's not worth the energy. It's just not working, and you just don't understand. And a lot of things have mazel, and it just
sure.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Right. Well, this is a blessed organization, and no question you're doing the Ratzon Hashem, bringing people from all over the world to Eretz Yisrael, and please God, you should continue to be so successful. But I think going back to that naivety, that young, almost innocence, is what made the organization. You couldn't have done it. You probably wouldn't be able to do it at this point. Like, you're too innocent.
No, 100%. There's tremendous chutzpah and idealism of a young kid. I was 28.
Amazing.
And I was sitting with somebody yesterday who was in a very high position at that time when I was 28 years old, who was a counterpart from another agency. And I was like, you were a little kid.
Right.
And he was like, it is 50s. And at that time. So it was
a 50-year-old wouldn't have done it.
No.
Right? 28. The gematria is koach. You see, you had so much koach.
Look at you. All this gematria today.
Finally, Rabbi Fass, the famous closing questions I ask every guest. Where in Israel do you live, and why did you choose it?
We live in Ramat Beit Shemesh. We live in Ramat Shiloh, near Yeshivat Leva Torah, that whole community. Why do we choose it? Well, when we moved to Israel 23 years ago, we were looking at different communities. And at that time, we had a bunch of good friends that were living in the Beit Shemesh area. And Beit Shemesh was very different at the time. Everything was very different.
I remember we lived there with you.
Everything was very different. And again, it just... Like if it was me, I would be living up north 2 days a week in the Golan.
1 minute. This is my next question. If you had to move somewhere else in the country, where would you go and why?
I would move to the Golan and every morning drive to Yerushalayim.
You're joking.
No, I'm up. You know how early. I wake up very early. I would have no problem getting here for Shachris, doing a whole day. And
well, maybe you'll open an office up north when you get all the people.
We had an office up north years ago. It was in Carmiel.
Well, please God, you'll open more communities and you'll have
but it takes my breath away.
Okay.
When I'm up
Let us
north.
know when you go. We'll join you.
Let's do it.
Bezrat Hashem. Rabbi Fass, thank you so much for your
My
time,
pleasure.
your vision, your heart. It's incredible how you never tire, how you keep showing up day after day with the same passion and clarity. You and all the people here at Nefesh B'Nefesh are doing such remarkable work. I've no doubt that the coming years are going to be very, very busy. I'm quite sure you're in the right place at the right time for Am Yisrael. And I hope with all my heart that you'll be busy with people who are coming home, not out of fear or desperation, but out of choice, out of desire, out of ratzon. Thank you for the extraordinary service you continue to give our people. And to all of our listeners, thank you for being here. If you or someone you know is dreaming about Aliyah or just wants to learn more, explore the resources at nbn.org.il. Reach out, take that first step. If this conversation moved you, inspired you, or gave you something to think about, please share it and join us again next week, please God, as we continue to explore with another incredible guest what it means to make Israel your home. Until then, shalom or lehitraot.
Thank you for listening to On the House. A special thanks to Mordechai Gordon, our editor, who makes it all possible. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with family and friends. For more insights, expert guidance, and access to listings and projects across Israel, visit buyitisrael.com. That's BUIT in Israel.com. Have a question or a topic you'd like Debbie to cover? You'll find contact details in the show notes. Whether you're planning Aliyah, searching for a home or a haven, or looking to support the Israeli economy, now is the time to buy it in Israel.